this group, right? So, do we approve the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I
very good.
had 432 for the
Okay, 4:32. Fabulous. Minutes, February 12th.
Recommend approval of the minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Rick, any written communications?
not that you guys, actually nothing.
Okay,
Shocker.
Shocker. Public comment, I see no members of the public here today, so we will go on to our discussion on capital needs.
Okay, all right.
I know engineers always want to fix things,
Yeah.
and architects always want to build things.
You know, like,
So this is a question of the judgment of the people hiring those people.
well, I'm not an engineer. I can't tell you how long something's gonna last, okay? But, and all I'm saying is, like on this project that we're just, Johnson Controls, part of the discussion was, there's a boiler back there that they've recommended that we do something with the boiler. We're not going to do something with the boiler, okay? Because it doesn't save us any money. What it's gonna do is, it'll lengthen the life of the asset, okay? But they can't tell us how many more years it will lengthen the life of the asset. We asked how many years will the boiler be before it fails? We can't tell you that, we don't know that, you know? I mean, I'm just saying, that's the kind of answer we're gonna get for most of the people.
Okay, but let's start with a list of the systems, and then maybe 3 to 5 years,
Okay.
7 to
Okay.
10 years, beyond 10
Okay.
years. It's all an estimate,
Okay.
but it's just, if we're all looking at the same piece of paper, we can talk about that. Not that
Well, I
this
think
is
it
what's
might
gonna
be
happen.
more helpful just to say how old the actual systems are and
Yeah.
what
Yes.
repairs.
You can
they're
start
doing.
in there.
I don't think you can necessarily say how long they're gonna last. I think you're right. I mean, our air conditioning unit is still running in our house, past the length of when it's supposed to run in the house. You know, I'm saying that it could drop dead this summer, and it
Other
might.
systems can,
All right.
the day after the door.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, we'll get
So
a
that's the thing
list.
is,
Okay,
We'll get a list.
get a list, yeah.
I mean, but it can't, I mean, the list isn't even gonna be that long. It's like
Right.
boiler, air conditioner,
Yeah,
you know.
Roof, you know.
The roof is actually, might even have a couple years left on the warranty. Might be 1 or 2 years left.
But it would be good that we all have that.
Right, sure.
And I assume that the roof is not all one roof, it's, since the building has different parts, maybe the roof is in a couple of parts.
I think it's one.
It's one big one. Okay, well, anyway, all right, so
I don't know,
hopefully,
but I think it's one for one.
okay, so hopefully we'll.
All right, so we'll get that.
Yeah. Space plans, Rick, you got anything for us?
We met today, I thought it was a very good meeting.
I know, I'm sorry I was late.
Very
I
productive
liked
meeting.
what they had.
We
shows.
got, so a couple weeks ago, we met with this committee, we talked about our service needs, rather than saying, this is what we want to, this is where we want to put this, and this is where we want to put that. We talked about our service needs, and in the past, I, when working with these architects, I put all kinds of restrictions on them. Don't even think about this. You have to do this. Don't think you can do that. This time's just based on us telling you what we want to achieve from a service viewpoint. Come back with some recommendations. They came back with some great stuff. So we're going to sit on those for a while and think about them. And I want to get some
I
staff.
think people were pretty much on the same page though as to what they liked. I mean, it seemed like Plan 1, Plan 4 were the ones people liked the most.
And the other part is, is now coordinating with the foundation, who is represented on that committee, and say, okay, let's.
And who's on the committee for?
Ouija team.
Oh,
From
right.
the
Foundation.
Foundation.
Macon County Foundation.
No, from our
Oh, from the-
Educated Public Library Foundation. Yeah. Well, Ouija used to be with the Macon County. She retired from that. And I'm going to get some cost estimates for these things next week too. So.
Although it seemed like the one that everybody liked the most was the cheapest one.
Yeah, I still don't think it's anywhere near cheap.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's gonna be super expensive,
Yeah.
but
Who's all on the committee?
So we have 2 from the trustees, so that's Sophia and Donna.
Okay.
2 from the foundation. Foundation. Tina's in the McWilliams from Richland,
Good.
and Ouija Stewart, formerly of the Community Foundation. We've got from the Friends of the Library, because one of our goals is to get them in our footprint, you know, to get free that space up for you, for the city of Decatur, and just keep that from hanging over their heads. So we've got two, and we'll probably ask them for a check also. We've got two members of the Friends, Ann Brunson, and who used to be the Civic Center manager, I believe, many years ago, and Joan Mokel, all retired, but I'm not sure what from what. So,
Okay. So that's the committee.
and then our leadership team,
And there's
the
some
library
library
division heads. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want to get some staff input, and the idea is to just kind of whittle it down to two, and that we can, you know, work with, although you guys are the governing board and will need to make any final decisions, there's also City of Decatur that needs to be okay with anything, and the Decatur Public Library Foundation needs to be all in on anything.
Right, since they're gonna have to do some heavy lifting.
Exactly.
And what was their initial reaction to the meeting today?
I thought it was positive.
Everybody
I
was
thought Tina,
positive.
you know, we've kind of struggled in our other meetings, I think, but today's really felt like we kind of broke through to, okay, now this seems to be checking off the boxes. These are the things that these achieve some
I
things that
really-
we wanted.
I feel like, the one group that we're having a little trouble with still is the Friends, because they wanna do business as usual, the same way they've always done it. And
Keeping
they-
in mind your own humor.
I know, but, and I think that's great, and if they do wanna do it that way,
Well, but
we
this
need to
allows
put
them
that
to
in
do
plan.
it. They solved
Yes,
that, I felt like I
yes.
solved that problem.
I feel like we
They
solved
could
that
put-
problem with them.
So they use some of your space for, or some of the city's space for storage, and also some city space for their store, and then some library space right on the other side of this wall for sorting. And at least in a couple of the plans, they've got it all in one unit, their storage, their sorting, and their store area. So I think
What's the, you know, as you started this discussion with that group, what's the kind of the overriding objective of the group? Is it been a defined
I think
objective?
the objective is to modernize the library and have it move forward with the needs of the community and how libraries are evolving, at
Okay.
least in my mind. And the fact that we would like this library to just be modernized and more efficient. And also, I think for the library staff, from what I understand, I may be wrong, is that they want to redo the footprint of the library just to make staffing more efficient. And
that's some of it, and I think honestly, I'm not sure that any of these achieve that on one side, but on another side, it's similar. We're going to have more people on the floor, but in another way, we're going to have there are going to be fewer. There'll be a need over the next few years for fewer clerical staff, and it's just, and they know that, and we've talked about it openly. So I think that could come out in the wash. I'm hoping so. Most of it, from my view, is driven by the strategic plan. You know, it's one of the objectives of the strategic plan to at least be, well, one, it came up in focus groups we had, in all our surveys, and in our big retreat, aesthetics was some, you know, paint instead of wallpaper, where's your logo, there's no color in here, that kind of thing. But, you know, flexibility and ease of use were the other things.
And then a lot of people, I mean, there's a group of the public that would like us to open the doors up here.
And we found I think they hit on a way to do that with this latest round of plans when without, and I don't want to get too far into it, but without, you know, one of my concerns was you open these doors up here and then you have anybody coming in through the children's department, you know.
And as as a mom, that was my biggest concern.
It's my concern too, but they kind of fixed for that, and I'm not gonna spoil it for you.
But is it, you know, and this all ties back to stuff when we did a strategic plan and so on. But I mean, there's no one overriding theme. There's something over here and something over here and something over here.
I think that's fair.
Okay, so, I mean, is it something that, you know, this camp wants this, and this camp wants that, and this camp wants something
I think
else?
everybody seemed pretty unified today.
Yeah,
I think it,
I mean, there are, in some degree, it's true, there, you know, I've kind of felt like we need to find a home for the Friends, so there is that sort of.
which I agree, I think it would be
Yeah,
nice for them to have a space that's,
But I think there's certain
and it
things
would
that
be a
we all,
nicer space than
when
have.
we met last month and we all talked about what are the service priorities,
Right.
that's what, you know, we decided, we're not gonna tell them where to put anything.
Right.
We're gonna tell you what we want to achieve that we're not getting done, okay? Teens. It's
Right,
teen
right,
use
right.
is plummeting, so that's one thing. You know, the other parts of our strategic plan, like, you know, this is something I'm a little bit skeptical about, but makerspace has been something that has been, you know, definitely I'm in the minority of thinking that's icing, not a cake. Everybody else seems to think it's cake. But there are actually there are uses that you can make of those that are economic development uses, potentially. There are also, you can use a makerspace as a teen attractor tool also that they're doing, I think is really cool in at the Urbana Free Library. They have teen open makerspace lab 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. So you only have to staff it for that time. Staff is there just to say, make sure the kids don't break the stuff, that they know how to use it. But kids, we're not telling you what to do. This isn't a program. Come in and be creative. And one of the things that they did, I don't know how long they've been doing that, I think almost 2 years now. They've actually increased teen usage. And one of the things that those kids did was they made a really cool claymation, like 2-minute promotional video for Urbana Free Library that's funny and, you know, attractive to their peers, you know. So I think there are creative uses for the makerspace kind of stuff.
Okay. So it's let me say it this way. So what that focus group is doing, it's really looking at how can the facility evolve for the fulfillment of the
Correct.
strategic plan.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
I think that's
that's
a
a perfect
well-
way to say it.
well put.
Okay.
That sounds very promising, and it sounds like you've got, I'm really happy you've got all the people at the table, and especially, obviously, the foundation is going to be.
Just one other question came when we were talking, the Friends. I remember a discussion during parking lot time.
I forgot to say, John Kenseth is also on the
Oh,
committee.
okay,
He just
okay.
wasn't there today.
That parking lot times, in discussion of that, there was, I remember there was talk about, you know, on that first floor space of trying to do something with Friends, where they would have
Access to the
access
outside.
to the outside.
I think what it comes down to is the Friends really only want to staff something once a month for 2 hours. And when you're putting windows in there, we want patrons who are going to be using the library more frequently to be able to use that. If the Friends wanted to change their business model and have a store there and have it be open all the time,
Yeah.
that would make sense. But at this point, that's not what they want to do. And in my mind, I would rather have like some other part of the library that is going to be used
Using
on
that
a
space.
daily basis, using that
Like more
space.
meeting room space or the teen space, or, you know, that's prime real estate.
Exactly.
If they're only gonna be using it 2 hours a month.
That's
Yeah,
not,
right.
I guess that's what I mean by
Yeah.
not wanting to change their business model.
Right,
And it's fine, if they don't want to change their business
They
They seem to
model,
be- and they
we
seem
just
to be
have to
okay with it. So
accommodate them
They
and
found some
everybody
other,
is-
some other spots for them rather than there.
yeah. Because I mean, the more I think about it, that space is just, now, it just opens up possibilities, there's access to the outside, it's a nice outside now.
It's
fits
nice too
in
because
green.
it's shaded.
Well, just to let you know, one of the things we're looking at is putting youth services, children's services down there.
You mean this,
Yes, down there.
Where?
the second floor, which then opens up,
Which now allows us to open that without worrying about
Yeah,
kids'
you open
safety.
the
We can have their
doors.
own, they can have their own entrance.
And you open the doors to the bus station and to
oh,
Main
wow.
Street.
And
Wow.
so,
Yeah, wow, that's exciting.
Yep.
Great.
It just opens the building up.
Yes.
It makes it more connected to the rest of the downtown.
Where we discussed how some people like don't want to walk around the
Wait.
building to get in, whereas they'll walk anywhere in the building once they're in it.
Yeah.
Which is fine. We just want to get them in.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you, Rick. I don't have any other old business. Does anyone else have any other old business?
Yep.
Okay, let's look at the check register, not too much excitement. See some big orders for materials, or not super big, but relatively big.
So the overdrive, it seemed like was 10,000.
Yeah, that's what's, it's in advance essentially. We put that deposit down every so often and we draw down on it, so.
How long will that
we
last?
get it. I can't tell you that. I'm thinking probably close to a quarter. Now, that said, we're looking at getting out of overdrive. We're down in Nashville, I couldn't make it to this particular meeting, but I had,
Is overdrive the one I don't like? Or is
it
it
probably, it's Libby, it's the Libby
I'll tell you.
download, it's the one where there's a lot of waiting lists, so we're
Oh, I don't
looking
like
at,
overdrive, I don't use it anymore.
we're looking at getting out of
You know,
it. But,
Gooch was the one I like.
but this way that we're looking at getting out of this will allow us to take our content with us and make it available right out of the catalog. So
Which would be
find it in the
fantastic.
catalog, check it out.
That would be fantastic,
Yeah.
because now you have to, you have to look at all the places.
Yes.
Okay, I see another big item on page 3, I guess, which is Verido Operating Company and is noted as pallet of copy paper. And I asked you, you said that lasts for about a year and a half.
Between a year and a half, and we buy it, the city actually purchases it, or the city purchasing department orders it, they find it and order it.
So they're doing all the research on best time to buy, all that kind of stuff.
And then,
I'm asking that question.
and then we have attorney fees, which I assume we have to deal with all
I believe that's September and October.
Okay.
We're way behind on, no, we're not behind on, they're behind on
Billing.
billings.
Law firms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question.
Hard to
I
believe.
saw Comcast on there. Is your internet access in this building for all the patrons, is that still through Comcast, or are you connected now into the city fiber?
Okay.
Okay, that's something, have you spoken to Jim Edwards?
Yeah,
The city, over the last several years, the city's put fiber optic cable in the ground to connect city buildings. Okay, the library's a city building, okay? So running down Franklin Street is fiber optic network that connects up at Richland College to the Illinois Century Network that gets up there. It's a far better and more reliable internet access, speed-wise, otherwise,
It's
than
really
using
nice.
Comcast.
It's
And
really
then how would
nice.
you pay for it?
Well, it's, all that has to be done is we have to connect the library. I mean, basically, probably run it under the sidewalk out here on Franklin Street somewhere. Is just connect.
it's out here. It's right out on it's
Or-
right
yeah,
out here
right.
on Prairie Street, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. But it would be, what I understand, it would be an improvement for your service, for your access. And it's, the only cost is, there's gonna be some cost
To make the
to
connection.
make the connection. But, I mean, that's $10,000, $15,000, $20,000.
And how much are we paying for cable at the moment?
Not much.
Yeah.
And here's why we haven't pulled the trigger on that, Greg, is because my guy, Matt Wilkerson, is telling me that we would not, we would notice, there's one thing you said that we would notice difference, and that's reliability. But we wouldn't notice any difference in speed, that we're getting such good speeds from Comcast that, yeah, he said, if everybody in the building was streaming video at the same time, yes, we would notice a huge difference. But for our uses, so the question is, do we want to make that, you know, 5-figure investment that would take quite a while to pay itself off? It's at $300 a month, you know, we'll get a pretty good rate. So I don't know.
Well, this is the argument that I would make about it is that there's really no point in doing that if we're planning to redo the building in the next like 2 or 3 years. That would be the time to bring it in when we're redoing the building's already.
Well, I don't know, you know, I mean, are you?
Well, it depends, you know, it's a discussion to have with Jim Edwards, the city IT director. But, I mean, one of the things we've talked about at times in the city is there's a lot of empty space in this building. You know, don't know who's gonna come into you know, to fill the empty space. But certainly, if it's commercial related, if it's, you know, whatever related,
It's a selling point.
it's a selling point, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. And if you wanted to expand into other, you know, makerspace kind of things, the.
Yeah, I'm happy to revisit it.
Yeah. But maybe we should just have that conversation. Okay. Okay, sorry.
Okay, no, that's great. That's, I mean, I haven't used it for a long time, but I remember it being super fast
Yeah.
and really
It's the
nice.
reliability.
Yeah, really
Yeah,
nice.
because that definitely.
Comcast goes
Comcast
down
is-
from time
yes.
to time.
Yes, that's,
This doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll discuss AT&T. Okay, so we're at 17% of the year. This is this report with the highlighted, with the shaded areas. So it looks like, of course, revenue we're behind because of the lumpiness of revenue, but it looks like payroll and benefits still running behind. Materials right at where we are in the year. Professional services slightly behind. Allocations, of course, right on track. Office supplies and so forth, in total, running behind, although I see telephones a little ahead. And allocated expenses for insurance, right on track. So, to me, Rick, they don't look like there's anything of super.
No, nothing really to note here. On the next, I mean, if you want to go on the next one,
Yeah, no,
But
that's
really,
fine.
I don't even know that I should put them as separate agenda items. They're essentially two different ways of looking at the same information. But you know, granted, we've got only 2 months of data from which to make a projection, but I think I've come up with some better ways of doing that based on patterns in the last couple of years. So the things that are worth noting is right now, if past patterns hold true, the state replacement tax is going to come through much bigger than we had budgeted on the revenue side. Service to office equipment may come in much lower. I still haven't made my final decision on some service agreements. And right now, at this rate, and it's not an accurate rate, membership fees and professional services look really bad, especially professional services.
And is that because it's lumpy and you just extend
It's
it?
not really that lumpy, but I used a sort of based on past years, what percentages we paid in what months. And membership is, professional services is, last year skewed everything.
Right, and we're
It
still
was
getting
so
bills.
heavy on the end of last year
We're
that,
still getting last year's bills,
yeah,
so.
and I'm not really sure why membership fee, I mean, it's not gonna be that. It's gonna be about 55,000.
What is your comment about professional services? Is last year, whatever comment you made, last year, kind of,
It was legal fees.
okay, it was,
Yeah, and it was legal fees, and it was the fact that the second half of the year was heavy with legal fees.
Right, and we haven't seen all those bills yet.
Exactly, yeah.
Because we just had It's the bills on this last check register.
September and
And we'll always get a bill from Erickson Davis. There's rarely a month where they don't do something for us, but we're used to seeing bills like
Not
$900
those three.
or $450 or, yeah.
Hey, can I ask one question? At the top of this paper, it supposed to be 2020 and 20, right there.
Yes,
Not-
it should be.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
And on the, have the, we're 3 months into 2020, is the, as you said, the volume picked up in the second half of last year, FOIA related and so on. Is that volume level from the second half of last year continuing on into the first 3 months of this year? Okay.
No,
So right now, whatever caused the volume, FOIA request volume peaked in the second half of last year, and it's come back down to some lower level, whatever that lower level might be.
we had, since last week, this committee met, we've had one FOIA.
And at the peak, you would have had 6 or 8 in that same time period. You have,
More.
20?
There were a
Yeah,
lot.
there were some months we had 20.
Yeah.
okay.
You know, somebody,
Uh,
like one every
Okay.
business.
That has, we may see some continued relative to the normal high attorney fees, because there's a couple of things I want to get squared away first, but when I do, I want to sit down I want to have Chris do a compliance audit.
Compliance audit.
I want him to do an audit of our practices, our policies, and make sure that, everything we're doing is in compliance with the law, our website.
That's just generally?
We found some things, in the last 6 months, turned up some things that we haven't done that we should have been doing. And I want to know, is there anything else more out there? And I just want to have him take a look at all of our stuff. I'll ask him for an estimate of the cost before we go forward, but I think it would make sense to do that.
Is that a service that his law firm would normally provide?
Yeah. They do that he works for a lot of municipalities and then local government agencies, fire protection agencies and stuff like that. And I just want to make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row so that we are in compliance with the law 100%. And
Well, that might be something good coming out of all these FOIA requests, at least, you're at 85%.
Exactly.
It's gonna take you to 93.
yeah, you're not going to find it,
Everything, right.
But I want to make a good faith effort to make sure that there's not something that we've missed. I found that, you guys recently passed a policy that, the state required us to pass
Which was?
14 years ago. Okay, so,
Which was what?
I can't remember which one it was.
It was something that the state did something.
Oh, it was the ethics and
Okay, all right.
It was an ethics act and we
Okay,
were
so
supposed to.
the state adopted that many years ago.
And said that all units of local government
Should adopt.
Yes,
Okay.
and as far as I could find in our going through historical minutes, we never did. So I just want to make sure that
Okay.
there's nothing we've missed or there aren't things that I also, on a regular basis, there aren't things. I get a municipal minute newsletter from Ansel Blank, a law firm in Chicago that does,
Yeah, okay.
and just to make sure, so if there's anything coming down the pike, I know about it in advance. And I know Chris knows about these things too, but oftentimes, and I have to say, hey, Mr. Attorney, can
Yeah,
Help me out.
and you'll get an estimate before you start, but it
Yes,
sounds like a good idea. So I have one item of other new business. I just want to ask you, Rick, what you're doing to protect public health.
we, been a lot of talk between libraries and the Illinois Library Association about this. And there's a surprisingly narrow range of responses that I've seen in Illinois at least. I don't know of any closures, but in that range of responses, we pulled all of our soft toys and we're going to discard them and we'll replace them when this all blows over. We feel like we can still clean the hard surface toys and disinfect the hard surface toys. We have purchased, we just got it, I ordered it 2 weeks ago, almost. Yeah. Hand sanitizer. We weren't out, but I want to get it in as many places as possible, make them very visible. Same with tissues, get them out there. Oh, we had tissues everywhere behind counters. Well, get them out there on the counters for.
And even going as far as having a little table when you first walk in with sanitizers, tissues, and 3 things to do.
I think that's, yeah, I think that is definitely something worth doing. It's a low cost.
I would say that the other thing that we might want to consider is just wiping down the banister multiple times a day.
Well,
I was very conscious not to touch the banisters as I was coming up the stairs, but.
The city of Decatur, our cleaning crew is Civic Center cleaning crew, and they are employed by the city of Decatur. City of Decatur is now examining all cleaning protocols. I know they're doing, I don't know if you're involved in that, but in a very detailed way. So if you could address that, then.
Well, we've asked them to, the request wasn't just at the Civic Center, but it was here as well. But the first stuff they put together was unacceptable. So we want to get that, and the point of it was see what's the cleaning frequency, what is being done, and then determine. I mean, you'd be involved as well with this. Is determine. Is it? Do we think it's an acceptable level of cleaning, or does it need to be, at a deeper level? And we're thinking that some of that will come out of there is just as a general thing, not just because of this virus potential, but just as a general thing. I mean, are we doing a deep spring clean? Are we doing a deep fall clean in any of the facilities? And should we be doing that? So, kind of this evaluation of what are we doing today, and we'll get the right people together to talk to determine is what we're doing now acceptable to us, or do we want to change things? Increase the frequency we do things or the intensity at which we do them. Okay, that was kind of the point of doing this.
But another thing that for us to consider, ILA just released a statement today. They're not canceling anything, but they're just looking at space between individuals at group events. So I don't think that would be very difficult for us to do, just slightly change the way the Civic Center crew does setups for programs, and just put a little more space in between folks. These are all small, incremental, common-sensey kind of things, but we can't. There's no magic bullet right now. These are the things I think that we need to do.
But everything that can be done should be done.
Well, something else that we've talked about, and the city manager is either tomorrow or Friday. There's going to be a message going out to employees, and one of the, some of the theme of it is, for us to be prepared as an employer. What kind of policies are we going to have for our staff? For instance, what if an employee comes in and says, my spouse is, been exposed, I'm going to stay home and take care of that spouse. Do we say, fine, so we'll see you in 3 weeks, go home with pay. You gotta take vacation. You gotta burn sick time, or you gotta take a leave of absence. I mean, what's our policy? What's our approach?
Well, there needs also to be, I guess, could you do some of your work remotely?
Exactly. So.
A lot of companies are going to remote work.
Exactly.
And I will say that if you go by what Mike Pence and Donald Trump have said, that they would like these people to be paid.
Exactly.
But how do you pay for that?
Right. So Rick, what the city manager told me this morning is he's drafted, I don't know what it is yet, but he's drafted his opinion of what that should be. That's going to come out. Maybe you get that, and then you look at it from the library perspective. And then you wanna adopt those things, maybe you wanna do something.
Yeah, I mean, when I addressed this with all staff last week, one of the things I said was, we want you to go, these are the, fever, stay home. And we want you to use your sick time, we want you to, if you suspect you have any kind of these influenza symptoms, you need to, we want you to stay home until you're well. And you have blessing on that. We'll figure out how to keep operations going. But what do we do if people run out of paid time off? That's what I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know what he's, we've kind of presented this stuff to him, said, Scott, you gotta think about this, we gotta make a choice, but I don't know what that choice is.
Well, I mean, let's talk about
The idea is.
let's talk about the worst case scenario. What if we have to shut down? I mean, look, they just announced NCAA tournament's gonna have no fans.
Oh, the whole thing?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't hear that yet.
And they closed the Capitol to.
Completely for the
Colleges are closing down. Kids are being sent home.
The librarians listserv this morning for the academic libraries was just flooded with, we're waiting for the U of I. And whatever the U of I does,
Right.
Eastern and Southern, everybody else will do, which affects delivery
Yeah.
of our books throughout the system.
Sure.
One of the big problems with U of I closing is that they have a huge Chinese population, and what do you do with those kids? I mean, that's the problem at my daughter's school right now, is the Chinese population. They don't know what to do with them, because they're stuck in the US, they can't leave,
Right.
and their parents can't come to them.
Yeah, UBI has, University of Illinois basketball game is one of 2 schools in the country that are simulcast in Mandarin. It's a huge Chinese student population.
I kind of wondered if, given that situation, the demographic of the student body in Champaign, if, does that present greater possibility? Just with connections, travel, and things like that, does that present perhaps a greater possibility that something could get here?
I would
to
say
Central
no,
Illinois.
because the Chinese population has been in a lockdown since January, and we're not letting them anywhere. I'm sure that the Chinese.
Most of them
I would
go
say,
on
I would
Christmas
say
break
the
anyway.
majority of the problem is people from Europe. It's the European population that's gonna cause more of a problem, because Europe just locked down.
Yeah.
That girl that went from Chicago to Springfield, she just came back from Milan.
Oh.
And that's the
The
problem.
train go?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the school that my daughter goes to, I'm on the board there, and the Chinese families are also super vigilant about it. Between the families and the fact that the country's been on lockdown since January, I would not worry about the Chinese. They're not our problem. It's the European families that are the
But
problem.
if the UBI closes down, where those kids are going?
Where are they gonna go?
That's if they're in dormitories. That's
Because
because
if the U of I closes down, there wouldn't be students at home, would it?
yeah,
That's-
they're already doing it.
Madison
It's already-
told all
it's
their
already happening.
residential students to take their stuff.
Iowa's sending everybody home.
Already.
Penn
Really?
sent
The University of Iowa's,
Harvard, Tufts.
Harvard's, Tufts
Okay,
is giving
every-
him 2 days, Harvard's giving him 5.
Yep.
Emory,
Isn't this a little bit of an overreaction?
Well, that's
Trying to
what I've been
protect the
hearing.
medical system.
Yeah, the problem is more the response to the
Trying to
virus,
protect the
so
medical system.
the responses are
Do you know what
something.
the hospital's doing? What is the hospital?
DMH is not have a plan yet, as far as I know. At least they have not shared it with the doctors. If they have a plan. I'm sure they're talking about it, but the doctors don't know. There's no. But my husband's a surgeon, so he is not an infectious disease, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't be. I think the doctors are talking amongst themselves and saying that at some point elective surgeries are canceled.
ADM was told some of its employees to have a continuity plan by the end of today, in case everybody has to go.
It's a global pandemic. And am I worried about my kids? absolutely not. The majority of the people, no kids have died from it. The majority of the people that get it are not children. They're carriers, like they could infect me, but I probably would, you know, if I infected them, it wouldn't bother
Yeah,
them.
what's the 2%?
And
It's
then-
the ability, it's the
and then-
ability of our medical system to absorb and handle this
That's
is
the problem.
is more than anything.
And the majority of the people that are dying from it are sick and elderly, smokers.
already.
I mean, the people that they already done the statistics on the people that have died in China. The majority of the people that died were men above 70, and the men in China that are above 70, 86% of them are smokers. The women were a small fraction that have died. The women don't smoke. 2% of the female population smokes.
The more alarming number to me is 10 to 15% of people infected with it are hospitalized at some point.
Yes.
That's alarming because that's a cost, and a big cost, and we don't.
And I want to know where they're paying for it, because Mike Pence just announced yesterday that we're waiving copays. So is the government going to pay that copay, or are doctors taking a huge pay cut?
You know, Rick, speaking of co-pays, we checked, I mean, from the, you know, let's say library employees who are members of the city health insurance plan, that, you know, if any testing has to be done, if any medical treatment has to be done, it's all covered under
Sure.
the normal health plan, so there's nothing new to do, there's nothing extraordinary to do, it's just, you know,
Yeah,
kind
and
of,
we're-
we're gonna be processed as normal.
And luckily, we have a lab in Springfield, because our governor got a lab in Springfield.
We've got
In Springfield, yeah, he
we've
opened
got
one.
some people that are not insured here, some of our part-time staff, yeah, and they're supposed to be, but at least they're not insured through us. And we're pretty generous with sick time, and those of us, you know, who've been healthy and or managed our time wisely, most people, even if they hadn't taken extended sick time, we wouldn't have to make that decision about what do we do now. But there are some who are in a different boat, so I think it is something we probably need to be talking about, if maybe next Thursday at our full board meeting, is how do we approach that if and when it comes, rather than react to it.
Right, and you're gonna have something before then, from the cities.
You know, and the other part is, it's, you know, we could have employees coming to us as the employer, that they have an issue that they need to deal with. And the issue is not that they're not feeling well themselves, it's that they have a grandmother, grandfather, a husband, you know, a spouse that they need to take care of, or, you know, God forbid, actually, you know, there's some cases here. What if people say, listen, I'm afraid to go outside the house?
Well, at some point, it may
I wanna
come
stay
to
home.
what has happened
What do
in
we do?
Italy. I mean, if it comes down to like the state of Illinois goes on lockdown,
Yeah.
we close the library. I mean, we just do. That's just something we're gonna have to do. And maybe you allow people to come here and still work and keep things going, but we close it to the public. I mean,
You know, another, you know, it was just the other day that Pritzker, I heard that Pritzker declared a state of disaster.
Yeah.
It wasn't emergency, it was disaster, it was a state,
I
but
think that's
needed
just for
to,
funding.
needed to do that to get funding.
You need to do like funding for
But,
testing.
you know, also, you know, it might be, and, you know, perhaps we're already doing this, but, you know, I know the mayor and the city manager have been attending a lot of meetings this week, health department people and others, and so there's a lot of talk going on. And I would imagine, I mean, you know, the library's separate, but it's part of, it's not part of, you know, city operations kind of thing, and probably a lead's gonna come from whatever
I think
they're deciding.
Yeah, we'll definitely, I think, be looking to the city, to the government for
I mean, if the
guidance on
city,
this.
and state say that people shouldn't be out in public places, this is a public place.
Well, of course, but what do we do about people getting paid? You know,
Well,
that's
I
the-
mean, if they say public spaces, we can make the decision as to whether we close it to the public, but still have people working there,
Sure.
because there's still
Sure.
library remote access stuff that people could be doing, and then people are still getting paid for what they're doing, and maybe you can make up projects during that time, stuff that needs to get
Yeah.
done, that hasn't gotten done. And then if it comes down to the point where people just really shouldn't even go to work,
I
Then we have
believe
to make it
that
different.
we could stay busy for 60 days. Then we'd have to, then we'd start,
I think in the past,
But I think we can, I don't think it'll be that long.
another thing that's been considered is that, remember that the library is also a hub
Yeah.
in these times of disaster, that we all can be that place for people.
That's the point, we don't want anybody hubbing.
Well, no. I don't mean like that, I mean, services, public services and information that we do.
yeah, but we can still provide, we can provide that, we can work on
Exactly.
that remotely if
Exactly.
we.
But the library, I mean, you could close the doors to the library, but the library still operates
Correct.
because of all the online things,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Correct.
And
There are
there,
still,
and there may still be a way
there are
that
still
you could
services
have,
that
you
you
could
can
have somebody in like a hazmat suit that would be going out to the parking lot and giving people books, like there may still be a way to
Yeah.
keep our circulation moving without,
Is there anything that you guys are doing already? I mean, let's say with the collection, you know, people are checking books out, they're taking books home, they're bringing books back when they're finished. I mean, is there anything that's going on as far as, do you do any sanitizing?
Yeah, so
of
we-
the books when they come back or
yeah,
something?
and we've always done that with board books, you know, the books that are, every page is cardboard for toddlers and babies.
Yeah.
You know, we've always done that with those because they end up in mouths on a pretty regular basis. Looking at the feasibility of that on a daily basis, we're looking at, we crunched some numbers a while ago, what did we say, 2 a minute? Is that what it was? It would be 2 a minute all day long, every day. And
2,500 a month.
I don't know that that's
Coming in,
impossible,
25 and going.
What's 2 a minute?
books to sanitize.
Oh.
And I don't know that that's impossible. There's an expense, you know, related to it too, of course. It would put us behind in putting things on the shelf. Haven't had a chance, Robert's been out, so I haven't had a chance to talk with him about it. So this is the first he's hearing about it, but he'd be in the best position to,
It's
assess how much-
doable. It was slowing down, but it's doable.
Yeah. Things wouldn't get back on the shelf as quickly.
But since you're
that's
so
okay.
caught up on getting books back on the shelf, if it
So-
goes from 2 hours
So
to.
that, it's all contingent on our ability, and this is another thing, our ability, our actual ability to purchase Clorox wipes or whatever we need, because
well, here's the other thing.
we're running out of these things.
Is they've said that it doesn't actually live on surfaces for that long and still is contagious. I mean, it's more contagious if I were to sneeze. You guys have to be like 7 feet away from me to not catch it. Exactly, I don't have to sneeze. But the point is that maybe if our books are sitting for 24 hours before they get put back on the shelf, maybe
That might
there's,
be, that
maybe
might
there's
be,
a policy
Oh, I
like
see.
that would, the thing, we're more likely to have somebody sneeze and then touch the railing on
You're
the,
right.
and that's where it's gonna be. But if
might
we have
be.
a policy now where we just say books have to sit for 24 hours in the
That's-
sorting room, and make sure the people that are in the sorting room are wearing gloves when they're touching the books.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that may be the best.
I know they
thing
don't
to do.
like to.
if we can confirm, I mean, that's the incubation time.
I don't know
Yeah,
exactly what
let's look
the
at the, let's
incubation
look
time
at
is,
the
but
public health sites and.
but they have done studies on that say, you know, that it doesn't live
Yeah,
on
let's
surfaces for
look,
that
just look
long.
at the
It's not
CDC
contagious.
website and see if it is a 24-hour period,
Or something.
then
Or even
that's-
if it's 48,
or if it's 40, whatever.
2
That's
days, they
our-
have to sit there.
That's our, I think that's a great idea, and I know staff doesn't like to wear gloves, but I think that when they're
It's less expensive.
they're
I
pulling,
think gloves
oh
would be the
yeah,
best thing.
but when they're pulling,
Expensive
it's
and
probably-
least disruptive.
You know, something else we had, this week, I had purchasing, you know, go buy a bunch of Clorox wipes, you know, just, you know, so people could have if they, you know, can use to do doorknobs and things like that in the buildings. And hand sanitizer, gloves, purchasing came back and, I mean, they were able to get some of this stuff, but their hand sanitizer aren't on the shelves apparently. I don't know if you-
yeah, people are, I had a couple of staff meetings
The
yesterday.
Clorox wipes are difficult to find as well, and at least they were telling me purchasing, as they actually went out to some of these stores, Walmart or Target or whatever, they were told that these stores have things on order, but they don't have any confirmed dates of when they're gonna get delivery.
Well, thankfully, the Clorox company has upped their production and everything. I will say New York State is making their own hand sanitizer in the prisons right now. But I will also say, there are people like my daughter who can't use hand sanitizer, it gives her burns.
Soap and water.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm carrying soap in a baggie. But, you're right, I mean, hand sanitizer is in short supply.
Yeah,
I mean, could we make our own wipes out of a bottle of Clorox and paper towels?
I mean,
I
the
think,
majority of.
for
things
now,
are alcohol.
and for now, I think we're in good shape. If we have to wipe every book down, we'll have to find something.
But
Well,
I'm
right.
just like
It's
Right.
Sophia's concerned about the banister, you know, it's
Then
also
we'll get them.
the checkout desk.
That's what I was, the checkout
Need a
desk, the desk.
fumigation.
I would say
chamber.
the checkout
If it's
desk
got alcohol in
needs
it,
some
it will dry.
Clorox wipes and some,
If it's
Yeah,
got.
I like your
and
things,
some,
and we should
gloves.
get that list from Lipka of what the, you know, the cleaning cycle
He
is.
said he was sending
Yeah.
a updated list today.
And,
So-
you know, we look what that cycle is, and then we should intensify that cycle, and we should have them wiping down banisters and doorknobs and things like that.
banisters and doorknobs bother me more than just the books.
Okay, well, it sounds like definitely an action list, so, and more communication here, and, you know, just encourage you to, all these simple things, you know, don't wait to start.
Yeah, that's about.
But I think that might be good, just to have like a big signage that it reminds people in the public, like, wash your hands frequently, don't sneeze into your hands, like, just general rules of
Right.
Yeah,
conduct.
the one thing that I think is impossible to keep people from doing is touching your face.
Right.
It's not in human nature. I mean, we do it all the time.
But it's
I
just
do
a
it
good,
all the
just a good reminder, you know, easy to read, just the basics, so,
Yeah, and that stuff's readily available. All we gotta do is print it off,
right,
you know.
One suggestion I read this morning was to provide the materials for patrons for themselves to wipe down keyboards and the area around it in a lab, so that the staff doesn't have to continually do that.
And we do, we always have. There are some staff, or there are some regular patrons who, first thing they do is they go to the desk, get the wipe the stuff down, you know, we just haven't pushed it.
I would think, you know, the computer terminals, I mean, that's gotta be an area, I mean, it's, you know, maybe we need to have wipes out, you know, out there, you know, so people can, you know, maybe we ask them to wipe it after they leave. You know, like you go to the gym,
Right.
you know, just have, wipe down the equipment that you use, maybe we ask people to do that.
I
Yeah.
will tell you this much, it's gonna be more effective if somebody wipes it before they use it, because the person wiping it after they use it doesn't have anything at stake.
That's true.
Simple economics.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just, I mean, you could ask them to do both, but I would think. I would think, you know.
you're right.
Before you adjourn, just
Oh, yes.
FYI,
You know, I
travel
always thought
costs,
that is,
travel
I
and-
would wipe before I use it, because I'm concerned about myself. And after I would wipe after, just because, okay, you gotta be a
Because you
good
do it
person.
to be polite.
You do it to be polite, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but I wipe before too, so.
Yeah.
yeah, no.
But that's just to protect me, because I'm worried about me.
okay, well, that's all I had, thank you all. Do we have a motion?
Well, we have this.
Yeah, it's nothing official, it's just for your information, it's just, those are the, travel and continuing education costs that were,
On this month.
in February. Yeah.
Well, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.